Hey there, beautiful people. This is Gina Robinson, and you are listening to the Renew podcast. You are in the right place and always welcome here. Welcome back to the Renew podcast. Today, I'm so excited. We've got a couple of family members here today, and there's an incredible business called Coastal Fog. If you haven't heard of it, it's right here in Greenville, North Carolina. And three family members are here. They are the owners of Coastal Fog. It's Marty Vanwright, her I about said her sister. Now, Marty's feeling good that I just said that right now. Jen Lutz and her sister Jordan Procter. They are the masterminds behind this business, but first and foremost, I just want to say that it is delightful just to come in here and just hang out and work sometimes and have a cup of coffee and meet people. But I know there's a story behind this business, and it started way before this business. And so I know that your family, everything that it does in the center of this business is honored by the Lord, and so I want you guys to be able to tell a little bit about yourself. Marty, since you are the mother, we'll call you the matriarch of the family. Will you just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just let Jen speak, and then Jordan, we'll go to you. How's that?
Sounds good. Sounds great. Okay, well, my name is Marty Vanwright. My maiden name is East. I grew up here in Greenville, and my husband's name is Julian Vanwright. We dated all through high school. As a matter of fact, we met here in this building when it was an ice skating rink, which was a fun story. And
That is fun.
yeah, so anyway, Julian and I have had obviously two daughters who we're very proud of, and kind of the rest is history.
Yes, there's a lot more she's keeping close because I've shared. Her daughters have shared a few things about her, but I bet as you share about yourselves, you'll be able to add some to her story. How about you, Jen?
My name is Jen Lutz. I am a mother of two little crazy boys, Porter and Noah. They're 5 and 3, and they keep me on my toes every moment. But it's been a lot of fun because they have been a part of this process of us setting up this new location and everything. It's been great. Marty's youngest daughter, Jordan's sister, and yeah, just glad to be here. I've been in Greenville my whole life. Married someone from the mountains, Hickory, North Carolina. His name is Evan, and Jordan and her husband actually introduced us.
Well, that's a cool part of y'all story, yeah. For sure. All right, Jordan, I feel like a lot of people probably know who you are because sometimes the face of the business goes directly to you, but we know that it's taken the whole family to kind of get this adventure off the ground. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, and the reason that I might be the face occasionally is because these two wimp out and will not do videos.
I avoid social media at all costs.
So I get pinched to go up to the front line, and thereby
she takes it for the team.
Great about that.
And what Jen didn't mention is I'm 5 years older, so I have 5 years that I have been more in the front line than she. But I'm Jordan Procter, so as they have said, from Greenville, and have pretty much always been here. I went away for a year, and God brought me back to Greenville and has kept me here ever since. And always said that rather than complaining about Greenville, I felt the conviction to do something that made me happy to be here. And I know that back when those feelings were first brewing, it was definitely the Lord putting a reason for why he kept placing me back here. And I think that the evolution of that is why we are here where we are today. But I am married to my husband, Rocky Procter, who's a good old Southern boy from Elm City, North Carolina.
Wow.
And we have 4 little ones. Our oldest is 11, and our youngest is 5, so 3 boys and a girl. And, ever since that I graduated from college, it was with interior design degree. By the way, her husband, our father, always made me realize that I needed to be realistic and not a lofty dreamer. So he would encourage me nicely, but to not be a starving artist. I should actually get a degree that was tangible. But that's why I got the Bachelor of Science in Interior Design. But really in my soul, I'm an artist, a reckless, wild artist. And so I started in 2007 creating the umbrella company called Signature Jordan, because that's how I would sign paintings, commission paintings when I was done. And then this is the story of how we came to be here, because one day someone realized I did design, and they asked if I would, help them. And this was all in the basement of my rental house that I lived in out of college. And Mom, this was 2007, so Mom had just become an empty nester because Jen graduated and was heading off to school at ECU. But the whole idea that in that moment God created a spark of something that occurred, it was like a positive catalyst, if you will, that I had to call Mom to come over to the basement of my house to help me, because projects were coming in, and just little by little she would sit there nicely every single day and sharpen the pencils and answer the phone. And one day, because she's very passive, but one day she said, "We have got to get out of this basement. I can't be in the basement anymore." And we sat down as a family for dinner, because we're all very close. And my dad said, "Well, have you thought about letting her join you in business? Marty, have you thought about your next track could be in business?" Because she humbly raised us as a stay-at-home mom. We always had a fixture of her in our life right there with us whenever we needed her. And at that moment, I think it was her time to shine. And so we opened up, we moved out of the basement. I was scared to death because of the finances.
I can't imagine, yeah.
But we did. We went to get our business affairs in order, and she became a 50% partner. And we opened our first retail venue, and she just was so, energetic. It's like this part of you had been dormant maybe while you were being a mother, and then all of a sudden you burst forth, and I didn't know what to do with you.
Well, it's really neat, because if, at the time, you might not have seen all those pieces falling together, and it's taken probably until this new location where I just feel such purpose, that you look back and it's like, wow, look at that. Look at the way things fell into place. Look what God's plan was, because I wasn't even close with you guys during that time. I was doing college. We were 5 years apart. We had never been that close or anything. I was always close with Mom, but if you look back, it's just really neat how things fell into place the way they should. It's just really cool.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you were still in Greenville, but there was the distance. At the time, it was probably confusing for all of us I remember being torn with Mom joining the business and knowing that my sister was right there, and what were we going to do about that? Because as a family, the one thing that Mom and Dad have always made certain of is that we stay unified. No one divides up. Yes, of course you have autonomy and you do your own things, your own life, but no one is ever to be left out, if you will. And but so that I couldn't figure out in that season what was happening. But looking back, God prepares you for the time when it's right, and that wasn't the right time. I had growing up to do, you had growing up to do, Mom actually had growing up to do. So in that short little time, that's what occurred. But that's one of the fun parts that I think people ask, how did you come up with the name of your business? Well, when we opened the first little retail shop and we were painting the walls, we knew of the inside late one night, and we knew we couldn't call it Signature Jordan because that was so boring, even though that was the LLC name. But either it was one of us, I can't remember which one, as we were rolling paint, which is not our forte, by the way, at all. I'm a paint splatterer, not a paint, a precise painter.
Very true story.
She's the one that does it very nicely and cleanly. Well, we looked at each other, what are we going to name it? And I think Mom said, what's the name of that paint color? And I looked down and I looked up at her and I said, Coastal Fog. And we were like, that's it. It's ethereal, it's feelings, it's elemental. There's all this thing. And so that's how it happened. But then from there, really it's all she wrote, because Jen went to college and studied psychology and history and
Construction management.
Well, I was going to do construction project management, wanting to do historical preservation, but at ECU, that was a very commercial-based master's program, and it was like concrete, steel buildings and everything. So after the first week, I said, okay, I'm not getting my master's in that. And I swallowed my pride and said, can I have a part-time job with you guys while I figure this out? Because I never even it had been 3 or 4 years of y'all having the retail space, and I hadn't. But you had introduced me to Evan at that point. But yeah, that was neat, and it just went from there.
Oh, that's right. We had introduced, because Rocky and Evan went to medical school together, and Rocky does not like take any kind of credit because he doesn't like doing matchmaking.
Well, Rocky was like my big brother. I was 14 when they started dating. And we have a very brother-sister relationship where we pick at each other and everything. When Jordan said, I want you to meet Rocky's friend, I said, nope, not doing it. No way. Met him, and I said, if he's friends with Rocky, I can't do this. So a year later, my senior year of college, Rocky tried again and moved him into the house he helped move furniture into the house I was going to be moving into.
Just your big brother you never had, huh?
Exactly.
Yes. I love that. Rocky and Jen, definitely. It was fun seeing, because just being two sisters, and there was no one, we have a very small family, no extended family. There wasn't like some older cousin or anything that we palled around with. To watch my sister over the years, like 14 years old up till, well, even now, but specifically before she was married, having a brother that was my significant other, it was just special to see the way that they fought and then would come back around, and he would tell her like it is, this is the way you need to do it. And that was the other, component to starting the business, is he and I started dating right at the beginning of college, and so he saw the evolution when it started, and he was always there to help, even though his school was crazy. He's just too smart. He was able to handle his school and all the things that I was dumping on him, like helping me set up QuickBooks for the first time.
I remember you saying that.
And helping talk about invoicing and accounts payable and accounts receivable. And I'll never forget one night, gosh, it was probably 11 a.m., because we did handwritten receipts in our first retail store. It was probably
Was
11.
that on 10th Street?
It was.
That I do remember that, because I'll just.
That was the credit card swiper.
Yeah, it was old school. We definitely. But one night, I was in tears, like, Rocky, there's a stack of receipts that have to be entered tonight. Please help me. He said, I'm finally putting my foot down. He said, I think he was getting his master's at that point. I've got a paper to write, and you're going to have to learn how to do this on your own. I was like, fine. Well, that stung a little bit. But still, today, the payback is he hangs curtain rods and so forth for us.
Yes.
But the timing, I think, is so special when she came so humbly to help at the store.
Y'all just moved from 10th Street to the Blunt Harvey building.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And wasn't the timing of that, didn't I just have a newborn? I feel like
You hadn't had crew yet.
I feel like there was some.
That would have been in 2011.
Which would have, because we moved there in 2009. We were in the old space in the back in 2011.
Yeah,
I just remember
2011,
this feeling of God's provision, because at that point, it was dependent, before she came in, it was dependent on me and Mom, but definitely for doing service calls and so forth for interior design. The business, to pay rent, we had to have revenues, and I had
Yeah.
a baby, and I just remember looking back now, I realized that Jen showing up like that was not an accident. It was my needing to pull back was when
Yeah.
she needed to be brought forward, and then
That's so
Mom got
true.
the experience with Jen to have the kind of time together. Like I had time with her together, you all got time, and then Dad, who's been a constant force in our life, always, I feel like it was over a family meal, said, it just seems kind of perfect to have the three of us in business together. Why don't you all join up?
I
love
remember that. I mean, I remember it being wonderful, but yet scary. Like, you wanted it to be the perfect relationship, but you knew you might be putting a lot of personalities into one
Absolutely.
container.
Yeah.
And I think the key is just having respect for one another. You're not going to always agree, but you have to respect each other to disagree, and it just really seems to work.
Something you've always said to us is, even I remember as little kids when we would fight like cats, and you would say, above all else, you guys love each other. We love each other. Love is the foundation. And I say this to my kids now because you said it does. If you love each other so unconditionally, why would you let an argument or a disagreement make that falter at all? So just wipe away the circumstances. You have the right to forget about the circumstances and go back to the foundation and work back from there. And that's what we have to do regularly.
In between their bedrooms, we had a pocket door. And when these two would argue, you'd hear downstairs, you'd hear the pocket door go, whoa.
You knew then, right?
Why did you put a pocket door between our rooms? I remember it.
That is something. Well, I think too, I mean, if you're looking at even like the dynamic that you have as a family and the personalities, it's harder sometimes with family because when you're in a workplace, these people aren't your family a lot of times, but yet the Lord tells us to above all else love, right? And so your mom was just biblically sowing seeds the whole time, and we know that never goes void, and that He uses just those little things along the way. I love hearing the things like that you say that you remember, because me even being a mother, like I know that those are the things that you're like, is it ever going to work, or is it going to get through? And
Right.
Marty, it does. So, I mean, it's just, I think, you are seeing as a mother even the fruits of your labor back then, when a lot of that, like you talked about, a lot of her life, for a lack of a better words, was hidden. Being an at-home mom, but you have to run that sucker like a business, because there's things that have to happen, and things that have to get done. And just listening to you guys, your personalities I know are so very different, but I just love how God has taken all your strengths and just kind of webbed it into something that's extra special. Like no one else could do it better than y'all three. Like
Wow.
I mean, just nobody else could do it better. When I was writing notes, though, I immediately thought, as I listened to Jordan talk about her family and how respectful and honoring you were talking about your father and the men in your lives, it meant so much to me because you didn't leave them out of the story. See, I'm getting emotional. Is it because I have boys? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's happening here.
Men are important in the family.
Probably. Because, yes, they've put in the sweat equity, but even like the things that they're passionate about. And we talked about your father, and also, was it your husband that took the barista training?
Yes.
I mean, like just things that are happening, and you're like, seeing how God's using all of it. Like everybody's just throwing in all they got.
That's true. And like Jen's husband, Evan, I mean, he's not just Jen's husband, he's my brother-in-law, so he's like a brother to me. But the whole tasting room came to be because we heard his passion and we sought his counsel on what he thought it could be. And it just, everything from the glasses we chose to how we displayed them, his personality came forth in that process, and really now I would say there's equal representation almost
There
for
really is.
everybody.
I mean, there's every facet of this business is because it's grown out of a passion of ours. It's not like we set out to have all the different things, but it's just been things that we are each passionate about. You know, the interior design, and I did furniture refinishing for a while, and the retail, and then we all love food and the component of gathering and fellowship and bringing people in for that. Even to where we've grown now with having this space for kids and wanting it to be a place where men and kids, women all feel happy to be here. So that it's kind of just thrown our passions into it, and that's where we've come from.
Yeah. So what I love about this place, we're filming at Coastal Fog today. I don't know if I said that in the beginning, but it's so welcoming when you come in here. And Jen, you just referenced like families and children and mom and dads, you know, being able to be in this place and community. So one of the things I thought of you all when I was just thinking of this place is that you really are community builders, because you're really like, their bridges can be built here when people come and meet around food and break bread together. Biblically, we know how just incredible that is. But also that's like the first church in Acts 2, where it talks about, you know, the people gathered, they broke bread together, they prayed together. There was teaching, there was fellowship. And when people fellowship, they get creative. Ideas start flowing. And usually it happens over food, because without food, it's boring. Let's just say, right? So just thank you for just letting the juices, if you will, flow through your family, because every one of you have a creative component. When I was taking notes about this segment, I was talking to Jordan through text, and I just immediately go, oh my goodness, it sounds like the Brady Bunch. I'm like, no, it's the creative bunch. Like this family is like the creative bunch. Even your father, being a retired physician. Now, if you think about it, every physician has to be creative.
He's very creative.
Think about all the parts and components, because I was thinking, just as you were talking about your husbands and just all the facets and the things that they enjoy and they're passionate about. It's not just their jobs, but actually things that they're passionate about. So I want to ask you guys a question, because I think it's a fun question. Outside this place, outside Coastal Fog, like what do you love to do to really rejuvenate yourself? Because I know that your passions are in this building, because that's what Coastal Fog is, but there has to be something that really restores your soul. And so just, Jordan, I'm going to ask you first, and let's just go around. So what restores Jordan outside being a wife, a mom, a business owner, all those type of things?
Definitely pursuing things that are natural and homemaking. I'll speak, I know they're going to speak to this too, because, and it's not made up. This is really who we are. We do have a lot of common passions. I think that's because of the way Mom raised us. We were always encouraged to do projects and make things, and but we as a family find our spare time together down at Swansboro, which is a little historic seaside town. And you would think that we would be tired of each other by working together, but no, come the closing time, it's who's heading down to Swansboro, and it's like, I am,
And we
I
fit
am,
12
I
of us in a house with 3 bedrooms.
Really?
Regularly.
But
regularly.
the reason that comes to mind is we are restored in God's creation, where He is so evident. I mean, everything. I love to paint, so being able to go down there, and we all disperse and find our different things that we like to get into. I love to paint, so I'll go find a quiet place and just study the clouds and see His masterpiece, you know, and it makes me emotional thinking about it every single time. But so to me, gardening and being outside and exploring God's creations. But I would say, if you said in 1 minute, Jordan, explain where you go to be restored, it's Swansboro. It's the little seaside town.
That.
So now it's your turn.
Oh,
Mine You stole 2 of them, but
I know
I knew
she
you
stole
would.
mine.
No, I was
too.
trying to set them up.
Yeah.
You already said we have.
Yes.
And I know this is one of hers too. Cooking, gardening, and the coast. There's just something about the coast that I just feel the Holy Spirit there completely. The 3 of us were actually all, for the first time, water baptized down there in Swansboro this past summer, in the river right there, spontaneous, and it was phenomenal. It was really, really special. And, but yeah, the coast just speaks to my soul and rejuvenates me. And just being outside, I live in the country. I have lots of animals and gardening and stuff like that. It's really special to me too.
Nature, you all like being outside.
Yeah, the gardening for sure for me. I mean, I love the coast. Our place down in Swansboro doesn't have much in the way of gardening, so if I could do gardening and be at the coast, that would be ideal. But yeah, if I need to rejuvenate or stay home for a day, you'll find me out.
She has the greenest thumb ever. I mean, she's the plant lady.
She's the plant lady.
And she put that passion in us completely.
Definitely.
She's always loved that.
Well, Marty, I want to ask you this because we're going to talk a few more minutes and then we're going to get to do the second part of this. But is that how you were raised? Did your mother or your father have a passion for gardening? I always like asking these questions because it's like, sometimes the Lord just gives you, birth something in you fresh, and it's like revelatory, But then sometimes it's because your mother and father gave you these experiences and you were able to like learn along the way. So how did you have that?
That's a great question. My father had a love for gardening. He was confined to a wheelchair my whole youth, well, my entire life for that matter. So he wasn't able to get down in the ground and all, but we would always work in the flower beds and garden beds together, and my I'd do what he wanted me to do or vice versa. So there was always that exchange with him. Matter of fact, I get teased to this day that I'd get a nickel for every weed I'd pull.
And then she's like, that's why my knuckles are so big.
But yeah, he was very particular about the yard. So I feel strongly that I learned that from him. As far as the vegetable gardening and all that's been something I would give Williamsburg credit for.
Yeah.
We loved going to those old historic gardens and learning more about those. So yeah.
Jen, I got to say this before we end. You had mentioned, guys, before we started doing this recording, Jen goes, well, growing up, we went to Williamsburg all the time. And how old were you before you rode your first roller coaster?
20 years old.
I still haven't.
She still has it.
I love it. Well, and you saying that brought back a lot of memories because my husband's from Florida. And so, Disney World and Epcot and all those places were always around. So he was like, this is what we do, Mm-hmm. And so we would do one a summer. And when I was listening to you, we really are shaped by our experiences and our heritage and our family and our legacy. And so, you can always ride a roller coaster, but these experiences that you were able to do and learn history and just things that once our children, we want to leave our children a heritage. And I just think how incredible that you had these experienes because Williamsburg's just right up the road, right?
We still go every year.
Every year?
All 2 of us.
We just got back.
I love it.
Okay, we're going to talk more about this, all right, in the next episode. So, guys, we'll see you at the next one. Well, ladies, thank you for joining us on the Renew podcast. And remember, please subscribe, share, and tune in wherever you're listening on your favorite podcast platform.